documentaries are meant to, in a lot of ways, create awareness, change, and impact an audience in a different way from traditional classical Hollywood style films. Whereas we have an emotional response with film, from an artistic standpoint. With documentaries, we're presented a change of attitude, a look at, a glimpse into a different point of view that can change us more mentally, logically. So let's talk about that a little bit. So why we watch? Just the other day I started watching, I believe it was called Hostages on HBO. What about hostages do I want to learn? Well, I'd like to know firsthand accounts of what people went through who were taken hostage in Iran, during the uh, the coup, the uprising, where the Ayatollah took over. And it was interesting because I'm trusting the source because these are firsthand accounts of people who lived through it. So it's much more within our nature to uh, absorb what's being told to us, to accept what's being told to us because of the source. We know that there is not the fabrication that goes into filming a documentary like a movie, where you have props and you have sets and you have actors. When it's coming from a first-hand account, it's a little bit reliable. It's trustworthy. Now, of course, a person could be lying, but that doesn't necessarily take us out of the moment of trusting what's going on. So I think we go to documentaries to collect information. We're an information gathering species. We are constantly wanting to educate ourselves, and so we go to documentaries because it's in some ways it's an easier form than reading to collect information. There's different aspects of your brain that are engaged when you're watching something versus when you're reading something. So it takes a little bit less effort cognitively to watch a film and absorb that information than it does to read. And that's not to negate reading. I have a literature degree, so very important thing, just different. So we respond differently to documentaries. We say we're going to go to this information because it should be. We're trusting that it's reliable. We want to gather the information from a reliable source. And a lot of times it's on a subject we may be interested in, or a subject that we know nothing about that we want to gain knowledge of. But documentaries also have this feeling of a call to action. And by that I mean that once we're done watching the film, we feel motivated in some way to change either ourselves, change culture, change society, be made aware of something. And I think we are more likely to go inform others of what we have learned from a documentary versus a film. I think it has to be an exceptionally good film, a good story well told for me. And you could think about this on your own. I don't often start a conversation with a film suggestion to someone where I say, I saw a movie so good, you should go watch it. And I think documentaries, my coffee pot's turning off. I think documentaries, because it is real, I found myself more in my life saying, you need to go watch Wild Country. You need to go watch Tiger King. And I think that's that realism aspect to it, that it's an actuality. It's something that happened. That it's not fabricated like a movie. It's a camera absorbing in light. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's taking in that story. It's collecting life as it's lived, and it's truth at 24 frames a second, as they say. So there's something about it because it is real that we feel like we need to pass that information along to others. And I think that's partly built into our DNA. When we were but simple Homo sapiens wandering around the earth, I think passing on information to other humans is just an innate need within us that people need to know. And I think we see that in other areas, Facebook, for instance, any kind of social media. When we see a news story, something like that, everybody needs to know this happened. And so we share that information. So something to consider, something to think about on your own. Is it easier to suggest a documentary to somebody that impacted you versus a movie? It's kind of weird to think about, but it dawned on me, yeah, I'm more likely to get really worked up and passionate about a documentary I saw. Because at the end, a film is a film. It really has to move you, I think, to tell other people you should go have this experience versus a documentary. You need to see this information. Some I don't know if I've ever seen a documentary. I mean, it is in its essence information serving. It's even if March of the Penguins, it's information about penguins, Blue Planet, any of those that you see on TV that are just about providing that expository style of filmmaking. It's all about the information being provided. But some films start out from the beginning. I don't want to say with an agenda, but there's a need, or the filmmakers feel has to be fulfilled. Be that cultural change, be that social justice. It's at the kind of foreground of the making of the film, and it goes throughout, and it's seeking to create change. And change can come in different ways. Think of The King of Kong. There was sort of a change within the microcosm of video games, right? The video game community responded to the story. So one of the impacts was Billy Mitchell, after the film was done, was stripped of a lot of his awards. And when Twin Galaxies took on new ownership, Billy Mitchell was really kind of taken to task for cheating. So there was an individual impact, right? There was an impact within the video game world, and then there was an impact within classic arcade video games. So different levels of impact kind of going on at once. There was awareness brought into the world. Certainly it was something I never thought of, competitive video game playing. But then the hierarchy of how things are structured within Twin Galaxies, which is sort of the Vatican of video game records. So it took to task the keepers of the truth, and were they going to be responsibly awarding credit for video game scores. So that is to say, it has an impact on a small scale and a large scale. Think of a movie like Bowling for Columbine. If you haven't seen it, it's very intense. I myself grew up in Littleton, Colorado, and was supposed to have gone to high school at Columbine. In fact, I knew people there. So it was a very important documentary for me. And it had an impact on social change. It brought up, gun ownership, the perpetuation of violence in our culture, race and the media. There was a whole gamut of things that were brought up for at the forefront of the film, right? And it's sought out to create change from the beginning. Change didn't happen organically. Change was happening in a very succinct, defined way. We are going to shed light on this issue. And you can see, if you look up this article talking about, the film and the impact of Kmart selling handgun bullets. So change can be made very easily from documentaries. Again, because it's a fact-based medium, or the presupposition that it is fact-based leads an audience to accept this is true. So if Kmart has some unethical sales practices, it enrages the public and Kmart responds to it. So I think more than film, documentary has this power. This we'll call intentional filmmaking, of we intend for these changes to hopefully happen. We intend for our audience to respond this way to the information. So something to keep in mind. Some docs call attention to the marginalized or a subculture, and there's kind of a credibility just by being. So, for instance, I think often about my business partner runs. It's called Kaleidoscope. It's the LGBT film festival here in Arkansas, and there is a documentary category. And I've watched some of the documentaries that surround people's lives, those in the trans community. It's very interesting to get to see or glimpse into the life of somebody. So there's a certain sort of credibility that affects me and as an audience member, and maybe changes my perspective, changes my point of view, simply by it's sufficient in itself. And that's not to always say something is just because it's filmed, it's true and it's right. No, that's not the case at all. But I think when we're privy to watching a documentary where we can go inside and we can gain empathy, sympathy, and we can connect intellectually with the life of somebody else, there's a deeper truth to that documentaries serve that expands our perspective simply by the way it's filmed and the way it's presented to us. So the fact of the film is the person it themselves. There's no necessarily need for expert interviews, testimony, anything like that. Just simply by following this person around, there is a level of credibility and oftentimes eye-opening experience for the audience to understand the struggles or whatever it might be with another human being and what they go through. As I say here, awareness of the point of view. We grow deeper as a human being by expanding our point of view by aligning with someone else. Some documentaries have been so impactful, they've helped to usher in new genres. So think of the Thin Blue Line. And if you've never seen it, I don't want to give too much away because I would love to show that in class. But suffice it to say, it helped spark the true crime documentary genre. And it helped, I don't even want to say that much. So we can see these all over the place now. The true crime documentary is huge. Thin Blue Lives definitely was at the beginning stages of that being a genre that people were really eating up. Again, because it's based on reality. It's dealing with people's real lives who are incarcerated. If you watch a movie and Brad Pitt's in jail, you know he's not really in jail. And that doesn't take away from the authenticity of the film, but it puts us in a different mindset as we're watching something when we know, hey, somebody is in jail and they might not have committed a crime. So it changes things.